welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, ET Now's daily platform for the Indian micro, small and medium enterprise sector. On this series, it's our endeavor to really celebrate entrepreneurship as well as bring you expert advice to help you grow your business from renowned business leaders and therefore ensure that the success of any organization is a direct function of its people, its strategies and ideas who are a part of it. Today on MSME Dialogues, we're exploring various opportunities that exist for MSMEs in the real estate space. Let's kick this panel off then, and I want to start with the guest that I have on my left, Bhairav Dalal, partner PwC India. I have Shailesh Puranik, MD of Puranik Builders, both of them joining us right here in our Mumbai studios. And joining us from Delhi today is Joji P. Thomas, CEO of the ATS Group. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for being here today and for discussing really the opportunities for the MSME real estate space.
See, for the government to achieve, housing for all by 2022, we need about 66 million dwelling unit. Most of them is in affordable segment, except a million dwelling units that will go into the premium segment. Those houses will be sold from 3 lakh rupees to 30 lakh rupees. If you assume an average price of 7.5 lakh rupees, we are talking about 750 billion US dollar worth of real estate sale. And most of this can be developed by medium and small scale entrepreneurs. In addition to that, if 70% of the input cost can be tapped by the segment. That translates to about 350 billion US dollar. So we are talking about an opportunity of over $1 trillion opportunity.
Interesting facts and figures that you're putting out there. So on one hand, of course, is the opportunity that exists. But do you think that a lot of it has started trickling down as far as the MSME sector goes for real estate?
See, the numbers are mind-blowing, there is no doubt. But the numbers have always been there. Right now, what has happened is government has started, kind of a focus on it by way of a Housing for All initiative. So the opportunity was always there. It is, I won't say trickling down, it is always existing there. And it is existing for MSME sector by and large. Because this affordable housing play has been predominantly done by MSME sector only. It's only in last few years that you need some of the very large players trying to concentrate on this sector because everybody's talking about it. But till now, it was only MSME which was building housing in this segment. It was doing so, everything was made in India. Everything was managed in-house. There was a lot of backward integration that has happened. And everything happened despite no support or without any support from government. So now, good thing is, which was passed. So now government has started looking at it. So that is one good thing. Two, it is thought of giving or trying to give some scopes for this. So there are some measures being introduced in this sector, this budget now, this finance bill. But there is a too little and too less. If we want to achieve housing for all by 2022, the numbers that he just said, the amount of investment is one, but the amount of government support by way of changes in policy, we only want government to remove the obstacles.
Sure. I'll come to, what some of those obstacles are, but I just want to bring you in at this point, Bhairav. The government has, like Shailesh was also just saying, announced some SOPs during this particular budget. And let's talk about the one that's just finished. Do you think that's enough to really get the momentum going? Would you have liked to have seen something else?
I think in terms of wanting more, I think we always say dil mangi more. So I don't think so we're going to be satisfied with what is there out there on the table. But as Shailesh just said, I think it's a good start. You are now seeing the government not just talking housing for all. They're trying to put measures in place to support that initiative. Tax holiday for affordable housing that gets developed in the next 3 years. I think it's a good starting point. Extending 50,000 more or a little more housing loan interest deduction is definitely going to help the first time home buyer. I think these are two major initiatives. As he said, the most of the houses are going to be sold between the 5 lakh to 30 lakh price range. If there's a little more tax advantage for a first time home buyer, I think it boosts significantly. A few thousand rupees will go a long way in him buying that house as against renting it. This two things put together, I would say it's a good start. We need to see how it is respected and whether it is followed up with more soaps and support. And yes, one more thing which Shailesh rightly said and which we all believe is there are so many obstacles. Remove some of the obstacles and the business will
Like
then
what?
take care of itself.
Like what?
So like for example, you now introducing a tax holiday which says that any affordable housing project which is approved post June 2016 will only be eligible for the tax holiday. Why do you want to restrict it to new projects? What about the existing projects? People have put in money, people have got the projects to a particular size, they've got to a particular level, people have got approvals, right? Why are you just saying that they're not available, they're not eligible for claiming the tax holiday? Why such a disparity? So people who have done the hard work is just saying, sorry, but we're not going to give you a tax holiday. Some of these measures will not help the industry, you rather make it available for all.
Okay. Joji, as someone who operates in this space, would you agree with what Bhairav is saying?
Yeah, to a great extent, I agree. The biggest challenge is, translating desire into demand. That means a desire to become demand, there should be means. So in the affordable segment, the challenge is that the buyers are not getting easy home loans. So they are not able to buy property. So the government should take initiative to make sure that the buyers are getting, home loans in a more comfortable manner.
Fair point, Joji. Let's talk about finance in just a bit. But Shailesh, you were talking about housing for all. Some of the builders that we've been speaking with are saying that affordable housing, you're still seeing demand which is coming in from those people who can afford to have a second and a third home. What has been your own experience?
See, affordable housing is a very large term and there are different definitions being offered by different people. And there are many sub-segments in this affordable housing, because what happens is, suppose a person which is living in a metro, for him affordable housing can be something like a 50 lakh or a 5 million rupees home. But for a urban poor, it might be home below 5 lakh rupees. But for a LIG sector, it might be home between 5 lakh rupees to 15 lakh rupees. So there are different sectors in this affordable housing. Second and third home from the same player is a difficult thing, but even if you are able to cater to first home demand from all the players, not all the players, all the customers there are, I think you have enough market there. And even if you achieve, forget 2022, maybe 20 years from now, it will be a great achievement for all of us. So I don't think we are looking at second and third home for the same buyer, but for the first home, I think.
Okay, fair enough. Well, so speaking of those challenges that you are, and we're talking, of course, about housing for all, does it only look good on paper? If you're saying that, there are some challenges, funding, as everyone knows, we're in a situation where we're seeing high NPAs. So how is that dream really going to be achieved?
So two things on that. One, I think there are a lot of investors out there who are still willing to bet their money on real estate in India. I'm talking of domestic investors as well as international investors. With the government relaxing the foreign direct investment norms, practically every project in the country is now eligible for getting foreign money. What foreign money looks at is essentially a good track record, which some of these guys may not have, and therefore it will take time for them to get there. But if you have the track record, all they're asking is good corporate governance, a proper execution strategy, and the right team. I think as long as you put all of those three things on the table and not be too greedy on the valuations, I think there's enough money out there willing to be put in your own projects, develop, deliver, and then go and take the next leap. I think somewhere our business guys are also trying to do too much at the same time. Maybe, as Shailesh rightly said, maybe 20 years is a better thing rather than 2022. We're trying to do too many things at the same time, and in that process we lose on certain things which not necessarily is helping us from a funding perspective.
Shailesh, so on one hand, of course, you have demand, and on the other, you have the funding challenges. Bhairav was just talking about FDI. How ready are MSME real estate companies to be able to tap that opportunity?
Well, how ready they are, I can't really comment on how ready they are, but I think they have to be ready yesterday. That's what the situation is right now. One, you have huge funds waiting to enter India. With the kind of drive that our Prime Minister has undertaken, he's going around all the globe. So I think there is too much of euphoria around India and wanting to invest in India across the world. The kind of the returns that these people are getting, a Japanese investor or a US investor on his money lying idle there, and the kind of money minimum that he can expect from a developing country like India is huge. There is a huge difference. So money won't be a challenge. You have to be ready. You have to be ready yesterday with transparent practices, not being too greedy. I am completely in agreement with him, and knowing what you are going to do, having reasonable targets in mind, linked to profits, execution, the kind of sales that you can do, the kind of bandwidth your company has, how soon you want to scale up, how fast you want to scale up, what is the right strategy to go forward. I think if all these things are put in place yesterday, they can do it.
Let's take a quick break on Leaders of Tomorrow. On the other side, we will continue talking about financing for the real estate space. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow and MSME Dialogues. Today, we're talking about the opportunities and challenges for the MSME space when it's concerned as far as the real estate space. Just before we took the break, we were talking about FDI into the real estate space. And Shailesh is saying that, real estate companies should have been ready yesterday.
Right.
For the companies that are wondering whether they should go for FDI, whether they should not, whether they should look at bank funding, what advice would you have?
I think it has to be a combination of both, largely because I don't think so the foreigners or any investor is going to fund entire requirement. So we'll have to look at the nationalized banks or the private banks and foreign investors. But as Shailesh also said, you need to be ready of yesterday. If you're not ready yesterday, then please start putting everything together. It's not such a difficult thing. You need to have the right practices, right execution strategy. I mean, you're developing real estate. At the end of the day, if you have the right strategy, the product is going to show for itself. And if the foreign investors see that you're delivering a good product, they're not going to shy away from putting more money into the country. So foreign investment, yes, it's a good source today for all the small and medium real estate players wanting to go out there and develop something. And again, if you look at tier 2, tier 3 cities, none of the big developers really operate over there. So it's largely the market of local developers, and that's how traditionally it has been. I don't think so any large developer wants to go and really develop a large project in a small town. The local developers pretty much take care of all the local needs, be it retail, be it commercial, or be it residential. I think there is enough money out there wanting to invest as long as you show them that there are right things on the table.
Fair enough. Point well taken. Joji, I want to come to you and talk about funding, but this time from banks. At a time when you're seeing the NPA situation on the part of banks at decade lows, do you really think that, the funding coming into the space, the sector, the MSME real estate space is taking a bit of a knock? And what advice would you have to give to your fellow MSME entrepreneurs in terms of being able to access these funds?
Most of the developers with good track record is not finding any difficulty in getting bank finance or FDI. But when it comes to small players, story is not the same. FDIs find the ticket size to be very small. They are worried about exit options, and banks are more worried about their previous track record and collateral and stuff like that. So For medium and small players in this space, finance is a major challenge. Most of them are even today managing through tying up with landowners for land, and then depending on payments from the buyers to complete the product. So that situation need to change. The banking sector should gear up and come out with more flexible and positive approach towards small developers in small cities primarily. That need to happen.
Okay, so that is as far as the funding situation goes. But Bhairav, everyone is talking about REITs, and your larger companies are talking about REITs and being able to tap that route. Is this a viable option available for your MSME real estate companies?
I don't think so. It's an option right now, but what it certainly helps some of these small players is it gives them a good option to start looking at some of the commercial development, because what REIT market will essentially do is provide an exit opportunity for anyone who's developing a commercial or a retail asset. Some of these guys today are not venturing into this space because a lot of capital gets blocked in. It's a very long gestation period, a very long payback period. All of this put together, 10 to 12 years, you really don't make money in most of these assets. What you now have is you develop, you lease it out, and you sell it to a REIT, you make your money, you go out and develop the next project. That is going to be the indirect benefit to some of these smaller players of REITs, but not really a direct benefit.
Joji, I want to come to you and talk really about what some of the trends that we're seeing in the MSME housing space are concerned. What are some of those standout trends we could see going forward?
We see a lot of interest in small cities and different part of the country. However, they have not become a major organized player so far. However, we saw a lot of interest happening. People are inquiring about this opportunity. They are looking at various methods and systems to make sure that they become a major player in the industry. So that is a good sign, and we see that becoming a reality in next couple of years, and we will see a lot of players in this space.
I was just talking to Joji about what some of the trends that we're seeing in the real estate space. Sitting where you are, what do you think?
So one of the trends that we're seeing, and it's a very small start, I would say, is more of rental housing, and that's where maybe REITs can also come into play. Globally, we are seeing rental housing is becoming one of the major real estate plays. A lot of investors are willing to put money in a residential asset and willing to earn only lease rentals from that for the next 5, 7, 10 years, along with the growth or along with the value appreciation. But in India, I would say it's going to be a little slow. One, we're still emotional about owning our own property. So I would say we're not going to be so non-emotional towards the house that we're staying in. We would still like to own it. Second, there's still not enough investors who are comfortable with taking the risk on some of these residential assets today. But as we go along, we will see that trend come up. So maybe a decade from now, as Shailesh said, we will see this as one of the major activities in real estate.
Okay. Joji, I want your thoughts on this. How has pricing action played out over the last 1 year? And, any internal projections you can give us on how you see pricing panning out going forward, whether it's a short-term perspective, say 1 to 2 years, or a slightly mid-term perspective in terms of, say, 3 to 5 years?
The prices have went through a correction over a period of time. And what we see is, it kind of stable for a while now, maybe 2 years now. So I see the prices slightly moving to upward. That is what we are seeing, because the cost of construction has gone up. There are many other input costs which is really pushing it upward. So the pricing will be on the upward trend. I am not seeing it remaining at the same position or going down in the near future.
Joji, we have a call-in show that plays out twice a week here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and one of the questions we get quite often is how to manage the input costs, and that's something you have been speaking about. That's something even Shailesh has just mentioned. What advice would you have to MSME companies and entrepreneurs in terms of how to really manage the input costs?
Well, that is a very interesting question, because this will controlling your input cost will make or break you. Therefore, it has to be addressed by a very small and medium players very seriously. They should have a budget upfront. They should have a timeline upfront. They should have a clarity on the quantity required for doing the work, the approximate rate at which they should procure the material. So they should have a very good control on each quantity and the price of the raw material and other input like labor or machines. On day-to-day basis, they have to monitor and they have to control it.
Okay, Shailesh, I want to let you have the last word as we wind down on the show. In terms of what Bhairav has also been saying in terms of innovation, in terms of being a standout in this space, whether it's differentiating yourself on pricing, whether it's branding or innovation, what advice would you have for MSME companies in terms of standing out from their peers?
The advice is you have to stand out from the crowd. And the
How do you
advice
do
for
that?
doing that, you need to do brainstorming. You need to be aware about what is happening not only in your micro market. You need to be aware about what is happening in your state. You need to be aware what is happening in a similar market. If you are operating in MMR, what is happening in NCR, in a similar market. What happened to Brazil real estate, for example, when the Brazil was going through a similar phase? What is currently happening in US? They are, say, 30 years ahead of us. What happened there? How the markets reacted, how markets fared. Now, with the information overflow that is happening everywhere, you need to be first aware. How do you innovate? If you don't know what is happening today everywhere in your space as well as in the space which is next to you, what is happening in, say, auto sector? Sure. You need to be aware. You need to be understanding that, okay, this is how it's going to pan out. Then you need to take a call on that okay, this is how it's going to happen. Then what do I do and what do I do differently so that it makes me stand out from the crowd? Innovation, there is no option. You have to innovate. You have to come up with newer ideas to do things. You have to come up with newer ideas to save on your cost. You have to come up with newer ideas to increase your sales velocity. You cannot be inefficient. In real estate, we used to say 10 years ago, inefficiency is always rewarded. It is no longer like that. If you are inefficient, the markets will punish you and will punish you badly. So you need to be efficient and innovative.
Thank you very much, Shailesh, for coming down to our studios. Thanks so much for your time as well. Bhairav Joji, thanks for joining us here on this panel discussion. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of the Leaders of Tomorrow MSME Dialogues. To remember, if you need expert advice for any aspect of your business, do feel free to get in touch with us. You can email us at leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com. You can reach us on social media using the hashtag LOT, or you can call us on the number flashing below on your screens. Thanks for watching.